The fire alarms wouldn't stop screaming through the glass corridors of Halden Industries, and people rushed past each other with panic in their eyes. But in the middle of all that chaos, one man stood still, a single dad in worn-out sneakers, holding a small lunchbox he had packed that morning for his daughter. His name was Evan Parker. And in a few minutes, he would solve a $100 million crisis that the entire company's top engineers couldn't fix. But that isn't the real story. The real story begins with what happened after Evan saved the company when the CEO froze, speechless, staring at him like he was looking at something impossible. Before we start, if you love stories that touch the heart and remind you that kindness still matters in this world, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to your channel name. Your support helps us share more stories that inspire kindness and hope. Evan Parker wasn't supposed to be at Halden Industries that day. He wasn't an employee, not even a contractor. He was just a single dad who had taken a day off from his job at a small auto repair shop to bring lunch to his daughter. Her class had a field trip, and Halden Industries was the destination. Evan didn't think of himself as special. His life was simple, mostly routine. Wake up, make breakfast, drop his daughter Lily at school, work 10 hours fixing cars, pick her up, make dinner, sleep, repeat. He didn't have wealth, or status, or a fancy title. But he had something people often forget to value. He had kindness. And a mind sharp enough to see solutions where others saw dead ends. That morning, Lily had begged him to come along on the field trip because she didn't want to walk into a giant corporate building alone. So Evan took the day off, packed her favorite peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and promised her he would be right outside the visitor area when she needed him. But only 30 minutes into the tour, everything changed. A siren blasted across the building. Red lights flashed. The guide tried to stay calm, but her voice trembled as she told the kids to follow her. Something was terribly wrong. A malfunction in Halden's new automated production system had triggered a full shutdown. The entire billion-dollar assembly line had frozen. Every second the machine sat idle, money bled away, millions of dollars, then tens of millions. Engineers rushed across the floor shouting orders. Executives barked into phones. The CEO himself, a man named James Halden, stormed out of his office demanding answers. Everyone had the same thing to say. We can't fix it. We don't know what caused it. We need more time. Time was the one thing they did not have. The field trip group was escorted to a safe waiting area. Parents waited, nervous and confused. Evan stood quietly with his hands in his pockets, trying to keep Lily calm. But then something caught his eye, one of the engineers frantically waving printouts and yelling about a failing node in the main logic chain. Evan stepped closer. He recognized the schematic instantly. 10 years earlier, before life forced him into survival mode, he had studied systems engineering. He never finished his degree because Lily's mother passed away unexpectedly, and he had to care for a newborn alone. But the knowledge never left him. He walked toward the group of panicking engineers, gently raising his voice. "Excuse me, can I take a look?" They ignored him at first. He didn't look like someone who belonged in a high-tech facility, no badge, no suit, just a hoodie and jeans. But Evan calmly stepped closer, pointed at the diagram, and said again, "I think I know what's wrong." One engineer finally shoved the papers at him out of frustration. "Fine. Knock yourself out." Evan scanned the diagrams, then crouched next to the open control panel. He moved slowly, carefully, his hands steady. And then he saw it, a tiny misalignment in one of the optical sensors. Something so small, most people would miss it, but something that would cause the chain protocol to collapse. He reached in, adjusted the sensor, ran a manual reset sequence by memory, and waited. 2 seconds later, the entire line roared back to life. Machines hummed. Lights turned from red to green. Engineers gasped. Someone shouted, "It's fixed." And then the cheers started. One of the executives nearly cried from relief. Another ran to tell the CEO. In less than 5 minutes, a man they didn't even know had solved the $100 million nightmare. But Evan didn't stay to be thanked. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't ask for money. He just walked back to Lily, helped her zip her jacket, and said, "Looks like everything's okay now. Ready to go home?" Before they could leave, a hand grabbed Evan's arm, not aggressively, but urgently. It was the CEO. James Halden. A billionaire who had built the entire company from scratch. He stood there, frozen, not in anger, but in disbelief. "Did you just fix my entire production line?" he asked quietly. Evan shrugged, almost embarrassed. "Just a small adjustment. Anyone could have done it." But that wasn't true, and everyone knew it. James stared at him for a long, heavy moment. It wasn't the look of a man shocked by a solution. It was the look of a man shocked by who the solution came from, a humble single dad who stepped in while experts panicked. He gestured toward Evan's worn-out shoes, the faded hoodie, the tired face behind a kind smile. "Why aren't you running a team of engineers? Why are you here, delivering lunch?" Evan hesitated. He didn't like talking about himself. But he answered honestly. "Life changed. My daughter needed me. So I did what I had to do." James swallowed, looking at Lily, who clung shyly to her father's hand. "And you just walked in and fixed something my top experts couldn't fix in 3 hours." Evan shook his head. "I didn't walk in trying to fix anything. I just wanted to help." That sentence, "I just wanted to help," hit James harder than the crisis itself. In a world where everyone wanted something, money, status, credit, Evan simply wanted to be kind. James took a deep breath. "Come with me." Evan started to refuse. "I really have to get my daughter home." But James knelt down to Lily's level and smiled. "Don't worry. This won't take long. Your dad just saved thousands of people's jobs today. I think he deserves at least a conversation." They followed him to his office, a massive room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. James closed the door and sat on the edge of his desk, looking both humbled and impressed. "Evan," he began softly, "I've met a lot of people in my life. Brilliant people. Successful people. People with big ideas and even bigger egos. But I've never met someone who fixes a crisis like that, and then tries to slip out the door without asking for anything." Evan just smiled, a little embarrassed. "It was just the right thing to do." James nodded slowly. "That's exactly why I want to make you an offer." Evan's stomach tightened. "I appreciate it, but..." "We can build your schedule around your daughter," James interrupted. "You'd get a salary that reflects your talent. You'd get training, support, whatever you need." Then his voice softened. "You're too good to be struggling. And people like you, people who act out of kindness, are exactly who I want leading my company into the future." Evan didn't answer right away. He looked down at Lily, who was sitting on the couch swinging her feet. She looked up at him with big trusting eyes. "Daddy, will you be home with me still?" she whispered. James spoke gently. "We'll make sure of it. I promise." Evan felt something warm spread through his chest. After years of scraping by, years of putting himself last, years of telling himself he wasn't allowed to dream anymore, someone finally saw him. Someone believed in him. He shook James Halden's hand. "Okay," he said. "Let's do it." James smiled, really smiled, the way a man smiles when he knows his life just changed for the better. And so did Evan's. In the months that followed, Evan became one of the most respected leaders at Halden Industries. Not because he was the smartest in the room, but because he was the kindest. He listened. He supported his team. He helped people grow. His kindness shaped the entire culture of the company. And every evening, no matter how important his day was, he picked Lily up from school, walked her home, and made her favorite dinner. Years later, when people asked James Halden why he trusted a single dad with so much responsibility, he always gave the same answer. Because kindness isn't weakness. It's strength. And the world changes when kind people step forward. Kindness doesn't always look like grand gestures. Sometimes it looks like a tired dad in old sneakers, doing the right thing when no one else can. Sometimes it looks like helping without asking for anything. Sometimes it